Elijah eased into his seat, back straight, gaze forward. He didn't look around, didn't scan for judgment, but he felt it. Not from everyone, just enough to notice. The woman across the aisle glanced at him, then quickly away. The man in the next row paused mid-email, eyes flickered. No one said anything. They didn't have to. He adjusted his cuff, the silver of his watch catching the overhead light. A flight attendant approached. Different this time, older, wiser eyes. She hesitated for a split second, but then smiled. "Can I get you anything?" "To start, sir, just water, thank you," Elijah replied softly. Her smile didn't waver. Right away. The moment passed, but the weight of it lingered. From a few rows back, a little boy leaned forward, his wide eyes fixed on Elijah. Maybe 8 years old, light brown skin, curly hair, nervous curiosity in his stare. Elijah noticed and nodded. Not a big smile, not a wave, just ... recognition ... The boy looked back at his mother, whispered something. She looked over at Elijah, her face softened. She mouthed a silent thank you. Elijah nodded once more, turning his attention back to the window. The plane hadn't moved, but something had shifted. No confrontation, no voice raised. Yet still something had cracked. The man beside him cleared his throat. "You travel often." Elijah didn't look at him enough to be recognized, but not always respected. A beat. The man didn't respond. "I'm not here for trouble," Elijah added, still not turning. "I didn't think you were," the man said quickly. Another pause. Elijah finally turned his head, just slightly. "I didn't say you did, but that's the part that makes you nervous, isn't it?" The man said nothing, but his silence said everything. "Sweetheart, are you sure this is your seat?" Rachel asked, her lips smiling but her eyes doing inventory. Elijah didn't flinch. "Yes." She paused. A flicker of something crossed her face, maybe annoyance, maybe disbelief, then disappeared behind the same sugary smile. "Well, sometimes people get confused. First class can look different on paper." It said to her, "This is to a..." Rachel tilted her head, then looked over his shoulder like she was expecting backup. Her voice stayed gentle, but slower now, like she was teaching a child. "Do you have your boarding pass, sweetheart? Just for verification." Elijah pulled it from his blazer, holding it without a word. She didn't take it, just leaned in, close enough to read it. Too close. A couple in the next row shifted uncomfortably, watching. Rachel nodded slowly. "All right then, thank you. Just making sure everyone's comfortable." He held her gaze. "Everyone, or you?" There was a pause, small, sharp. Her smile faltered. Just a breath. "Excuse me, you didn't ask the man behind me, or the woman across." Rachel blinked. "That's not true." "It is." A silence. Heavy now. "I'm here to help, not judge." Elijah's voice was calm. "That's the part you rehearse, right?" Her jaw clenched. Then she stood straighter. "Enjoy your flight." She walked off before he could answer. The woman across the aisle who'd been quiet before leaned slightly forward. "She didn't ask me anything either." Elijah glanced at her, nodded once. No smile. Just ... thanks. From the galley. Rachel stood behind the curtain, watching through the narrow gap. Eyes narrowed. Smile gone. Surveillance resumed. But this time, it was her composure cracking. Not his. She didn't look at the barcode, just at his hand, the skin holding it. Rachel barely glanced down before handing it back. "Thank you." No real inspection, no apology, no eye contact. Elijah didn't move. "You didn't check it." I said thank you. "That's not the same." A breath. Rachel's smile returned, thinner now. "Is there something else you need, sir?" Elijah blinked once. Slow. "Respect would be a good start." Her face tightened, barely, like a string pulled too far. "I'm sorry if you felt..." "Don't say that," he cut in, quiet but clear. "Don't make it about how I felt. You didn't look at the ticket." A nearby passenger pretended to read. Another looked toward the window. Everyone was listening. Rachel's tone shifted. "Cold sugar, sir. If this is going to be a problem, it already is." That landed. She stepped back, just a fraction. "I was doing my job." "No, you were playing guard." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You've seen black boys in this seat before, right?" he asked, his voice calm, almost a calm. "Or am I your first?" Rachel stared at him. Not answering was her answer. "You ever wonder why I didn't flinch?" Elijah continued. "Why I didn't raise my voice, call for help, cause a scene?" She stayed still. "Because I've been here," he said, "more times than you'll ever understand." Silence. The kind that burns. Finally, Rachel muttered, "I didn't mean you did." She took one slow step back. "Enjoy your flight." "I will, once you stop watching me like a problem." This time, She walked away faster. Not because of fear, because something cracked, and she didn't know what to do with it. ChatGPT said. A man in 3A shifted but said nothing. A woman clutched her purse tighter. Eyes darted, then dropped. No words. Just that silence, heavy, cowardly, complicit. Elijah slowly stood. Not because she told him to, because he was used to standing where he shouldn't have to. Rachel didn't speak again. She didn't need to. The damage had already been done. He adjusted his bag overhead with careful hands, slow, deliberate, not because he had to, because he refused to give them a reason to twist this moment. No one moved, no one offered a word. The aisle was crowded with stillness. Rachel stepped aside as if he were something to avoid, not someone. Elijah caught that and held her gaze for a second too long. "Thank you for your hospitality," he said, voice low. Someone coughed behind him. Another person sighed. Still no one spoke. Elijah paused before sitting back down. "You all saw it." That stopped the air. He turned slightly, looking past Rachel, past the seats. "You felt it." A woman in 2B shifted uncomfortably. Her eyes met his, then fell. "You just didn't say anything." Rachel cleared her throat. "Sir, no, I'm good," he said, cutting her off. "I've just learned to expect silence in places like this." That sentence didn't raise his voice, but it raised the truth. He sat again, calm, composed, still breathing through bruises no one could see. Rachel took 2 steps back, her hands folded too tightly. She didn't look up again. The plane's engine hummed louder, or maybe it just felt that way. People blinked at screens, scrolled, sipped water. Elijah leaned back. Still. Present. Enduring what the rest pretended wasn't happening. Like always, the seatbelt light blinked quietly overhead. Elijah stayed still, hands folded, eyes ahead. "Then you really think I don't belong here, don't you?" Rachel froze mid-step. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her hand hovered near the cart, pretending to rearrange napkins. He didn't look at her. I've seen that look before. Same tight smile, same fake concern. "Elijah," she began. "Too late. You never asked my name," he said. "Just assumed I wandered into the wrong row." Rachel's voice dropped. "Let's not make this into something it's not." His head turned slowly. "Is that what you tell yourself? Helps you sleep?" Her throat tightened. "I was doing my job." "No," Elijah said. "You were doing what you've always done, what people like you are allowed to do. Smile, assume, dismiss." A pause sat between them. Passengers nearby pretended harder to be invisible. "You looked at me and decided I didn't fit. Didn't ask, didn't wonder, just judged." Rachel shifted, unsure of where to place her hands, or her guilt. "I didn't mean you meant everything," Elijah interrupted, calm and bitter. "That's the point." Silence again, the kind that makes the heart louder. "I've got a father who taught me to stay composed, a mother who taught me to speak soft. Neither one prepared me for this kind of quiet hatred." Rachel's face faltered. "You don't have to yell to humiliate someone," Elijah added. "You just have to be certain no one will stop you." Rachel finally spoke barely. "I didn't know who you were." "You still don't," he whispered. She stepped back. Not from fear, from the mirror she couldn't escape. Elijah turned away. He didn't need her apology. He needed her to feel the weight of not giving it. She just stepped aside, her posture stiff, eyes darting toward the aisle as a second attendant appeared. Uniform sharp, expression neutral, but everything about him said, "Removal." "Elijah," the man asked quietly, as if that softened anything. Elijah stood, steady, no resistance, just the weight of every stare pressing down on him. "This way, please." "Not, sir, not young man, just this way." He didn't ask why. Didn't bother. The answer was already in the way. People glanced, then looked away. In the silence that said, "He doesn't belong." As he stepped into the aisle, someone whispered near the front. Must have done something. Another voice, softer, should have known. He walked. Not fast, not slow, just enough to keep dignity from cracking. Rachel avoided his eyes. The second attendant didn't touch him, but his presence hovered close just in case Elijah forgot who was in control. Someone cleared their throat as he passed. Another shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't being walked out. He was being made an example. The leather seat he left behind still held the shape of his presence, but now it looked like a mistake, a chair he should have never warmed. He caught sight of a teenage boy near the back, brown skin, watching, learning. Elijah held the boy's gaze for half a second, too long, then looked away, not because he was ashamed, because he was tired of proving he had nothing to be ashamed of. No one explained, no one apologized, they just moved. him forward like luggage that didn't belong in first class. Not a word, not a glance, just quiet steps on a red carpet that never welcomed his shoes. He didn't speak, but the silence screamed. Asterisk. Ma'am, you're going to want to sit down for this. The words came fast, low, a whisper that didn't feel like a suggestion. Rachel turned. Excuse me. The staff member leaned closer. His father. He's on his way. Right now. Through security. Rachel's face stiffened, and the woman didn't blink. You don't know who he is, do you? Rachel folded her arms. Should I? Silence, answered then. CEO. That boy's father runs the entire. She stopped herself. But it was too late. The shift had already started. Rachel's eyes twitched, her lips parted, but no words came. She looked past the woman, past the terminal windows, past her own certainty. Why didn't he say anything? She muttered. The woman hesitated. Would you have listened? Rachel's jaw clenched. Suddenly, the uniform on her felt too tight, the air too still. She thought of Elijah, the way he stood, the way he didn't fight, the way he looked at her, not angry, not scared, just tired. Another attendant stepped closer. He's past security now. Gate B3. Moving fast. Rachel didn't move. The silence settled heavy. Her fingers tugged at her sleeves. She looked around passengers who watched without pretending now. Whispers growing roots. One man stared at her like he knew something she didn't want him to know. And for the first time Rachel's voice cracked. Get him back. The boy. Bring him back here now. The first woman didn't move. You want to undo it now? Rachel swallowed. I didn't know. Didn't want to. Then quiet, long, cold. Rachel sat down slowly, like the floor was shifting beneath her, not because she feared the man coming, but because she finally saw the boy she'd made disappear. Mr. Reed. The gate agent's voice cracked, softer than it had been moments ago. Langston Reed didn't respond right away. He stepped forward, calm, composed, as if every second had already played out in his head hours ago. He wasn't angry. He was expected. A man in full control doesn't raise his voice, he raises the temperature. Rachel stood, almost out of instinct. Sir, Langston stopped, just shy of her. Where's my son? Her lips parted, words failed. She gestured. Behind her, they're bringing him now. I didn't know. I imagine that's the problem. The silence was so loud it drew eyes from the far end of the gate. I followed protocol, she said, voice thinner now. He didn't look like someone who belonged in first class. Rachel's throat tightened. Another attendant approached. Elijah trailing behind him, his face was unreadable. Not surprised, not relieved, just steady. Langston didn't look back. He could feel his son's presence. Did he argue with you? Rachel shook her head slowly. No. Did he threaten you? No. Then tell me why you made a child sit alone while you judged the clothes on his back. Rachel's eyes glistened, but she didn't speak. Langston turned finally, to his son. You good? Elijah nodded once. Langston placed a hand on his shoulder. Then let's go. Rachel took a step forward. Sir, Mr. Reed, I want to apologize. Langston looked at her. Not with anger, not with pity. Just quiet disappointment. My son doesn't need your apology. He needed your respect. 10 minutes ago. He turned away, hand still firm on Elijah's shoulder, and Rachel didn't follow. She just stood there, still watching everything. She thought she understood. Walk away in silence. Where is my son? Langston's voice didn't rise, but somehow it filled every inch of space. Rachel flinched. The gate manager froze mid-step. A clipboard slipped from someone's hand nearby. A whisper cut through the silence like a crack of thunder. He owns us all. Rachel turned toward the voice, confused. What? The manager finally stepped forward. Mr. Reed. He's in the waiting lounge. We moved him once we realized. You moved him, Langston repeated, slow. After humiliating him in front of strangers. We didn't know who he was. That was your mistake. The room tensed. Langston's eyes didn't move from Rachel. You ever been mistaken for less than you are? I didn't. You did. He took a step closer. Let me tell you something. My son didn't need my last name to earn that seat. He needed silence from people like you. Rachel's lips trembled. It's protocol. Surfaced class passengers. Langston's laugh was hollow. Protocol doesn't ask questions. It makes assumptions. The gate manager tried to intervene. We'll offer a full refund, an apology. Langston didn't blink. This isn't about a refund. His voice lowered further. It's about what you teach people like her. What you excuse, what you let slide because he's black and quiet. Rachel looked down. Her hands gripped the counter. No, him, Langston added. But you decided everything about him in one glance. The silence settled like dust. No one moved. Then Elijah appeared at the edge of the room, eyes locked on his father. Langston softened just slightly. He turned toward him. "Let's go, son." And as they walked out, not a single employee said a word. They just watched, frozen in the questions still hanging in the air. Langston didn't look back as he and Elijah stepped outside, but inside him, something stirred. He remembered the weight of bags, not just luggage, but disrespect. The way passengers used to toss their carry-ons without meeting his eye. Some would hand him tips like pity, others wouldn't speak at all. He'd learned silence first, then endurance. Now, years later, he stood not as someone who took orders, but someone who'd built an empire from every door that once closed on him. "I used to work behind that wall," Langston said quietly, glancing back toward the terminal window. Elijah looked up. "Doing what?" "Baggage, cleaning, whatever they didn't want to do themselves." Elijah's eyebrows lifted. "You were one of them." Langston nodded. "One of the invisible ones." There was a pause. "I didn't know you weren't supposed to. That's how the world hides people like me. Puts us in uniforms, makes us small." Elijah's jaw tightened. "But now, they know your name." Langston didn't answer, just kept walking. A moment later he murmured, "They still don't see me, son. They just fear what I became." Elijah didn't speak. Langston placed a hand on his shoulder. "Never let their silence shrink you. I did that for too long." He stopped. "When you earn a seat, never explain why you're there. Sit down. Hold your ground. And if they try to move you, I don't move." Elijah finished. Langston nodded once. That was all. Behind them, the glass doors slid closed. Inside, Rachel sat slumped behind the counter, the weight of what just happened pressing harder than any protocol. No one told her to speak, but silence had already said enough. She called me aggressive because I asked her not to touch my hair. The room had been still, just the low hum of an overhead light, and the woman's voice measured, careful, like every word had been rehearsed for survival. Across the table, the HR rep smiled gently, too gently. "We hear you, Dana. We just want to make sure this isn't a misunderstanding." Dana blinked. "It's not. I've documented 5 separate times she mocked passengers' names, always black passengers. She told a kid his hood manners don't belong in first class." The rep tapped his pen. "I see. And you're sure this isn't about a personal conflict between the two of you?" Dana's breath caught, but she held it. "This isn't personal. This is patterned." That was the last real thing she said. 3 weeks later, she was rotated off schedule for a wellness break. Her badge still worked, but her name vanished from the rosters. No flights, no calls, just silence. One morning she came back. Her locker had been emptied without a word. No note, no message. Just the metallic echo of someone erased. No one looked at her as she walked past. She sat in her car that day, uniform folded on the passenger seat, hands trembling on the wheel. Not from anger, not anymore. From knowing the system didn't forget Rachel. It protected her back in the present. Rachel sat at her desk, eyes fixed on a screen that wouldn't blur enough to hide what she felt. No one had fired her, but something had shifted. In the hallway, a junior flight attendant passed without speaking, didn't nod, didn't smile, just kept walking. And for the first time, Rachel felt what Dana once did not hated. Just unseen. You can hear her laugh, right there. "Slow it down, second 13. The VP's voice was low, tense. No one responded. The video played again. Elijah stood there, backpack still on, eyes wide, body frozen mid-step. Rachel, arms crossed, smiled like she'd already won. She never looked at him, just through him. 43 seconds. No raised voices, no slurs, just tone, just dismissal. Just enough. That smirk, someone whispered. The head of PR leaned forward. "It's already on 3 million views. The kid's name is trending." A younger staffer looked up from her laptop. "And the dad, he's not just some executive. He owns half the aviation logistics our fleet depends on." A silence fell over the room like a dropped curtain. Rachel was called in. She didn't sit. "I didn't touch him. I didn't say anything racist. This is just interpretation. You dismissed a paying passenger." "I followed protocol." The VP leaned back. "Protocol doesn't require sarcasm." Rachel's voice faltered. "So now facial expressions are a crime?" "No, but they're proof." Asterisk. She blinked. Unsteady now. "I didn't think it would matter." It did. Across the country, the internet exploded. #Elijah first trended. Black parents stitched the clip with stories of their kids being mistaken for less. Flight attendants quietly shared it in group chats. Within hours, a memo circulated. 0 tolerance for discriminatory conduct. All staff under review, but no names, no blame, just distance. Back in her office, Rachel sat alone, lights off. She watched the clip again. This time, she didn't smirk. She just stared at her own face. Frozen at second 13, she looked like someone else someone caught, someone small, and for the first time, she didn't know what to say. You said, "He doesn't look like he belongs." Langston's voice was low, controlled. Rachel shifted in her seat. "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" Silence. The HR rep glanced between them but stayed quiet. The legal advisor scribbled something but never looked up. Rachel finally spoke. "I was trying to manage the cabin. Keep things ... orderly." Langston leaned forward, elbows on knees. "And that meant humiliating a child." "My child." She swallowed. "I didn't know he was you didn't need to know. That's the problem." Rachel's hands clenched on her lap. "I just followed instinct." His voice barely rose. "And what does your instinct say about black boys sitting in first class?" Her face flushed. "No answer," he exhaled. Slowly, "You smiled while dismissing him." "I didn't mean to. It's on video." She froze. Langston sat back. "You don't have to explain anymore." HR cleared her throat. "Rachel, given the circumstances, the company is..." Langston raised a hand, stopping her. His eyes stayed locked on Rachel's. "Don't shield her. Let her sit in this." Rachel's voice cracked. "It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like." Those words landed heavier than anything else. She blinked hard, trying to keep her breath steady. For the first time, her charm, her practiced words meant nothing. Langston stood. "My son saw you laugh, and now the world did too." She opened her mouth, but nothing came. He didn't wait. He walked out, quiet. The door closed. Rachel remained still. Even the legal pad stopped scribbling. No one needed to speak. What was done had spoken loud enough. "You said, he doesn't look like he belongs." Langston's voice was low, controlled. Rachel shifted in her seat. "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" Silence. The HR rep glanced between them but stayed quiet. The legal advisor scribbled something but never looked up. Rachel finally spoke. "I was trying to manage the cabin, keep things ... orderly." Langston leaned forward, elbows on knees. "And that meant humiliating a child." "My child," she swallowed. "I didn't know he was you didn't need to know. That's the problem." Rachel's hands clenched on her lap. "I just followed instinct." His voice barely rose. "And what does your instinct say about black boys sitting in first class?" Her face flushed. "No answer." He exhaled, slowly. "You smiled while dismissing him." "I didn't mean to. It's on video." She froze. Langston sat back. "You don't have to explain anymore." HR cleared her throat. "Rachel, given the circumstances, the company is..." Langston raised a hand, stopping her. His eyes stayed locked on Rachel's. "Don't shield her. Let her sit in this." Rachel's voice cracked. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like." Those words landed heavier than anything else. She blinked hard, trying to keep her breath steady. For the first time, her charm, her practiced words meant nothing. Langston stood. "My son saw you laugh, and now the world did too." She opened her mouth, but nothing came. He didn't wait. He walked out quiet. The door closed. Rachel remained still. Even the legal pad stopped scribbling. No one needed to speak. What was done had spoken loud enough. Langston didn't sit back down. He stood by the door, hand on the knob, eyes on Rachel. "You didn't just mock my son," he said slowly. "You mocked my silence." Rachel blinked, but said nothing. "I could have shouted. I could have made a scene in that cabin. I didn't." The HR rep shifted uncomfortably. Legal tapped his pen once, then stopped. Langston continued, quieter now. "I let you finish your performance because I wanted you to feel what it's like when no one speaks for you." Rachel finally whispered, "I didn't mean..." He raised a finger, not loud, just firm. "No, don't say it again." Her voice cracked. "I thought maybe I was just doing my job." His eyes didn't move. "Your job is to ensure safety, not to decide who looks safe." There was a long silence. Even the ticking clock on the wall seemed louder now. He turned slightly toward the others in the room. "This is what quiet looks like. When dignity doesn't scream. When it just ... remembers." Rachel looked down. The weight had shifted, not with fury, but with something heavier, reflection. Langston stepped out into the hallway but paused. "Do you know how many times I've swallowed moments like this? For promotions, for peace, for survival." No one answered. He looked back once. Not today. The door clicked behind him. Inside, Rachel sat still. No notes, no rebuttal. Just the sharp echo of a truth, too late to rewrite. The flashbulbs didn't flicker. They stared like everyone else. Langston stood at the podium, his hands resting lightly, as if steadying the weight of something much larger. Elijah stood behind him, hands clasped, head held high but still, not stiff, not broken. Asterisk. Langston cleared his throat. No notes, no prepared statement, just air thick with what had been earned in silence. They called this a press conference, he said, eyes scanning the room. But it feels like a trial. No one moved. A trial not of her actions, he continued, voice even, but of our reaction. A reporter finally raised a hand. Mr. Langston, are you pressing charges? He didn't answer immediately. He turned, looked at his son, then back at the mic. I'm not here to explain my pain to people who watched it and still needed proof. Another reporter tried. Do you think race played a factor? Langston cut in, gently. Ask my son how it felt to be asked if he belonged in a seat his name was printed on. A murmur shifted through the back row. Someone coughed. Cameras kept rolling. I didn't raise Elijah to survive shame, he added, quieter now. I raised him to recognize it and give it back to the people who throw it. He paused. There won't be lawsuits. There won't be a settlement. Just a question for everyone watching. If it hadn't been my son, if it had been yours, would this still be news? No one replied. He stepped back. Elijah stepped forward, but didn't speak. They stood there, silent and off camera. Behind tinted glass, Rachel watched her reflection ghosted over theirs. A woman uninvited to a truth she helped create. The room had thinned, but the moment hadn't passed. Langston stayed after the mics were off, asked if he could speak, not to the press, but to the people still listening. There's something I need to say, he began, quietly. No flash, no soundbite. He looked around, then down at Elijah, who sat now, hands folded, eyes steady. Asterisk. My son didn't need defending, Langston said again, firmer. He needed recognition. There was a silence, longer than most would allow. I didn't come here to make anyone lose their job. That's easy. That's fast. He let the sentence breathe. I came here so someone else's son doesn't get asked if they belong. Again, a woman in the back wiped her face. Not sobbing, just listening to heart. Langston continued. You think the seat was the insult? It wasn't. The insult was pretending like what happened didn't mean anything. A man in a suit shifted near the doorway. Uncomfortable, Langston looked at him, not with anger, with patience. If you think this is about one flight, you've missed the entire story. Someone asked quietly. Then what is it about? He paused. It's about how we measure people before we speak to them, and who we decide deserves the benefit of the doubt. Elijah stood, said nothing. Langston looked at him, pride lining his posture. I've taught my son not to shout to be seen, but to stand so tall they can't look past him. That line hit the room like glass breaking in slow motion. No applause, just a shift in breath, in faces, in silence. Outside, the first clip hit social media. That line was the caption. By nightfall, millions were repeating it, without yelling. The glow from the television danced across Rachel's pale face. She sat motionless, elbows on her knees, hands clenched so tight her knuckles were white. On screen, Langston's words echoed again. My son didn't need defending. He needed recognition. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't move. Then another buzz, and another, until the rhythm became unbearable. Asterisk. She snatched the phone, stared at the screen. Over 150 unread messages. The top one from her sister. Is that really you in the clip? Rachel blinked. Not out of surprise, but dread. She didn't answer. A voicemail played itself, the voice trembling on the other end. You were always kind. I don't understand what happened. She turned the volume down. Silence sat heavy beside her, not peace. Just wait. Then a quiet knock on the door. She didn't answer. Another knock. Double quotes. Rachel. It's me. Her friend's voice, soft, cautious, like stepping barefoot on glass. Rachel opened the door just an inch. You okay? The friend asked. Asterisk. Rachel looked at her, eyes wet but proud. No. You want to talk? No. The friend nodded, stepping back. But before turning away, she said, the clip's everywhere. You're not named. But they know. I know. Another pause. I didn't think it would matter, Rachel said, almost to herself. I thought. The rules were the rules. Her friend's face changed, not angry, just sad. You forgot one thing. Rachel raised her eyes. Some rules only exist until the wrong person follows them. Asterisk. Rachel didn't respond. She shut the door quietly. She leaned back against it, finally letting out the breath she'd been holding all day. This wasn't damage control. This was exposure. A low hum from the fridge filled the silence. Rachel sat at her kitchen table, eyes red, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she answered. Hello. Her voice cracked. Rachel. It was Mr. Kessler, head of operations. She straightened. Yes. He cleared his throat. We're placing you on administrative leave. She didn't respond. It's temporary, he added, while we review things. Rachel's lips barely moved. Sure. I just want you to. No, this wasn't personal. She exhaled through her nose. That's the problem, sir. It never is. He was quiet. Rachel added, you remember Marcus Bell? Pause. The pilot. He filed a complaint last year. Said someone was being followed through terminals. I don't recall the details. Of course not. She hung up. A memory flashed HR sipping coffee while brushing aside her first racial bias training request. We'll get to it, they'd said. She stood up slowly, walked to her living room window. Across the street, news vans were setting up. Inside, her inbox was filling not just with threats, but apologies, quiet ones. A message from Angela in HR. I should have said something. I'm sorry. Rachel stared at it. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, then deleted the draft reply. She wasn't angry anymore, not the same way. The anger had calcified into something colder recognition. This wasn't just about her, it never was. Her name was first, but the silence that had many fingerprints. Another message came in. From a flight attendant she'd barely spoken to. They told me not to rock the boat. I wish I had. Rachel closed her laptop. She didn't need confessions now. The system hadn't exploded. It had just been seen. A quiet knock broke the murmuring in the conference room. Langston stepped in. Sleeves rolled. No tie.com. Measured. Every executive sat up straighter. Phones flipped down. A few cleared their throats. Langston didn't sit. He looked around, then spoke. No lawyers, no PR, silence. I asked for this meeting because the culture we've tolerated, he paused, is rotting. He clicked the remote. A screen lit up with headlines, tweets, complaints, photos of Rachel, a teenage boy in tears. This isn't a crisis because of the cameras, he said. It's a crisis because it's true. Angela, head of HR, shifted. Uncomfortably, we did offer her a. Langston held up a hand. Don't. Another click. A spreadsheet filled the screen. Incident dates, unresolved cases, employee names. Every complaint ignored. Every voice dismissed. Every isolated incident you called routine. He exhaled. It wasn't routine for them. Brad from legal muttered. We followed policy. Langston's tone didn't rise. Policy doesn't equal justice. A beat then. We've hidden behind forms. But the silence was active. He stepped forward, scanning the room. I'm not here to fire anyone. Some shoulders eased. He continued. But I am done pretending this place stands for anything. If we keep excusing what we allow. No one moved. You've built this culture, Langston said, quiet but firm. Now you'll either rebuild it or be replaced by those who will. The sentence hung heavy. One clapped. No dramatic exits, just unease. Some glanced down, others nodded. Barely. Langston turned to leave. At the door, he stopped. Rachel didn't fail this company. You did. I won't make her the lesson. You are. He walked out. No one spoke for a long time. The door beeped red. Rachel paused, tried again, still read. She didn't look surprised, just tired. She stepped back, let the intern behind her swipe in. He didn't say anything, just slipped past her, eyes low. Her old office. Someone else's name on the door now. Her corner chair was gone, replaced by something gray. Standard, forgettable. She didn't cry. Rachel walked the hallway like a stranger, visiting a place she used to call home. No one stopped her, no one asked her to leave, but they didn't greet her either. Maya from compliance glanced up, hesitated, then looked back down like she'd seen a ghost. Rachel stood by the coffee machine. Angela passed, coffee in hand, eyes darting. Rachel gave a soft nod. Angela opened her mouth, then closed it, just kept walking. That hurt more than a shove. Later, in the restroom, she stared at her reflection. Did you expect applause? She whispered to herself. The mirror didn't answer. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. Outside, someone laughed, not cruelly, just casually, as if life had kept moving without her. That's what stung the most. Not hate, indifference. She sat alone in the empty break room. Not because they told her to, but because no one told her not to. A passing janitor nodded politely. She nodded back, grateful for the smallest gesture of recognition. Her badge sat on the table. Expired. She touched it gently, like something that used to mean power. She didn't say goodbye when she left. No one followed, no stories, no headlines, just absence. And that silence, it echoed louder than all the noise before it. A breeze lifted Langston's coat as he stepped onto the sidewalk. Elijah matched his pace, backpack slung low, face unreadable. The press had gathered like shadows, silent at first, then surging. Do you have any comment about the employee termination? Langston kept walking. Another voice broke through. Mr. Hayes, how does it feel to win? He didn't stop. But then one voice cut through them, all sharp, young, shaky. You want to say to the world? Langston turned. Just enough. His eyes didn't narrow, they calmed. I already said it, he replied. They just finally listened. No mic caught the silence that followed, but Elijah did. He looked up at his father, then down at his own shoes. The crowd parted, unsure whether to cheer, question, or simply watch. Elijah spoke low. You didn't yell. I didn't have to, Langston replied. They reached the car. Langston opened the door but didn't get in. He looked out. Across the street, just people going about their day. Doesn't feel like enough, Elijah said. Langston met his gaze. It's never enough, but it's something. A woman in uniform across the street paused, gave a small nod, just once, then kept walking. That was the win. Quiet, nameless, real. Elijah hesitated. Was it always like this for you? Langston looked up. It was quieter. He got in, finally. Elijah slid in beside him. Inside the car, there were no speeches, no cameras, just the sound of breathing. Shared silence. As the car pulled away, the press tried again, but their voices felt smaller now. Not because Langston shouted them down, but because dignity had taken the stage, and for once, prejudice didn't get the last word. Excuse me, a man bumped her shoulder. Didn't turn. Rachel barely flinched. She stood at gate 14, the same gate where she used to bark orders, where attendants once rushed to straighten their posture when she passed. Today, no one even noticed her. The heels of a junior flight officer clicked past. Rachel gave a faint nod. The officer glanced at her, then looked through her. No recognition, not anger, not even disdain, just absence. Rachel adjusted her coat. She still wore it like a uniform, though it held no authority now. She walked past the coffee counter. No free drink, no barista smile, just a receipt like everyone else. She sat in the corner, alone. A janitor swept near her feet. He paused, glanced up. For a second, something sparked. Then nothing. He kept sweeping. A child tugged at his mother's sleeve. Mummy, is that the lady from the plane video? The woman turned. Her eyes met Rachel's, tight, cold. No, baby. That woman was important. Rachel stared down at her hands. They used to sign off on terminations, approve raises, call security. Now they just shook. She stood, walked past the gate agents without a word. No one stopped her. No one nodded. She reached security. The same officer she used to greet looked past her like ma'am ID. She fumbled, pulled it out. He scanned it. Blank expression. You're clear, he said. No smile, no respect, just process. Rachel walked forward. The carpet muffled her steps. She used to walk with power. Now, it felt like an apology. She didn't cry, didn't speak, but in that silence, something inside her finally cracked. Not loud, not seen, just remembered. Rachel shut the front door gently. The house was still. Stillness always felt louder after the airport. Her daughter sat cross-legged on the living room rug, coloring. She didn't look up. Rachel placed her bag down. You hungry, baby? A pause. Then I already ate. Rachel nodded, eyes scanning the room like a guest. The TV played quietly in the background. A news anchor mentioned the incident again. Volume down, but the headline sat bold. Her daughter finally looked up. Mum, Rachel froze. Yeah, why did you do it? Rachel blinked. What? The thing on the plane, with that boy. Rachel opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her daughter tilted her head. You always say be kind, but you weren't. Rachel sank to the couch. It was complicated, she whispered. The girl didn't blink. Was it because he was black? Rachel's jaw clenched. I didn't mean to, she stuttered. You did though. Quiet. Still. Rachel looked down at her hands. Again her daughter's voice cracked. They showed your picture at school. Said you got fired. Rachel swallowed. I made a mistake. Silence. You always say own your mistakes. I am. No, you're just quiet. That hit deeper than the headlines, I thought. I was doing my job, Rachel said finally, but maybe I forgot what the job was. Her daughter stood, walked over, and sat beside her. Did he cry? She asked. Rachel's breath caught. Yeah, her daughter's hand rested on Rachel's. Good, she said. Then softer maybe, now you know how it feels. Rachel didn't defend herself, didn't explain. The girl leaned her head on Rachel's shoulder. No warmth, just weight. Rachel exhaled. Not from exhaustion, from recognition. ChatGPT said, The flight was the same gate, same airline, same crisp uniforms walking past him like nothing had ever happened, but everything had changed. Elijah walked with calm steps, number 10, father by his side, no apology trailing behind him, just him, taller somehow, not in inches, in presence. He handed the attendant his ticket. She glanced at it, then at him. "Welcome aboard, sir," not ma'am, not pause, not suspicion. He gave a small nod and stepped into the cabin. First class, seat 1A. He sat down slowly, not cautiously, deliberately. This time, he wasn't checking if he belonged. He knew. Across the aisle, a young black boy, maybe 10, clutched his mother's hand. His shoes barely touched the floor. He stared. Elijah caught his gaze. The boy blinked, unsure if he could keep looking. But Elijah didn't look away. He just nodded once. Subtle, like passing a baton. The boy whispered, "Mum, he's in first class." His mother smiled, tired. "So are you." Elijah heard it. He didn't smile, not quite, but something in his shoulders softened. The white man beside him shifted in his seat. Said nothing. No one asked to check his boarding pass. No one called security. No one flinched. He looked out the window. The plane hadn't moved yet, but he had. Somewhere inside, something settled. Not healed, not forgotten, just steady. A flight attendant offered him a drink. "Juice is fine," he said. She handed it to him. "You fly often?" He looked at the glass, then at the aisle, getting used to it. The attendant smiled politely and moved on. The boy across the way was still watching. Elijah raised his glass slightly, a silent toast to showing up, to staying seated, to not explaining anymore. The room was quiet, corporate, clean, marble floors, and filtered smiles. Elijah stood near the back, hands folded, eyes on the wall ahead. No cameras now, just a few senior staff, board members, and a covered plaque. Someone cleared their throat. "We're ready." The CEO stepped forward. Same man who once greeted Elijah's father with shaky hands and urgent apologies. Today he spoke slower. "We've made many mistakes," he began, "but today we begin to name them and honor them." A white cloth dropped. The plaque shone in gold. Ava Jameson, flight attendant, 1994 to 1998, dismissed. Dismissed too soon. Remembered forever. There were no gasps, just stillness. Elijah stared. One of the executives leaned toward him. "Your mother, she trained me. Back then, I didn't speak up." Elijah didn't look at him. A lot of people didn't. "Regret it." He nodded slightly, but his eyes stayed on her name. "She used to say," Elijah said quietly, "she wasn't fired for what she did. She was fired for who she was, and who she refused to stop being." No one responded. The CEO spoke again, softer. "Her name will be the first thing passengers see when they walk through our doors." Elijah finally turned to him. "Good. Then they'll know who helped build this place." Another pause. The air held something heavy, something long overdue. "Didn't raise your voice," the CEO added, almost to himself. "You raised awareness." Elijah looked at the plaque once more. She did. He stepped back, leaving nothing more to say. People slowly began to clap, hesitant at first, then, fuller. Not for him, not even for the airline. For a woman they never listened to. Until now.